Hello there, everybody. Welcome back to Circling Seattle Sports on Converge Media on this June 17th, Monday. It is great to be back in front of you here in the Black Media Matters studio for yet another episode of Circling Seattle Sports on Converge Media. As things continue to roll on, we continue to, I believe we're already in summer. It doesn't always feel that way, just considering how the weather goes, of course. But if you are, from Seattle, if you live in Seattle, you know how spring and early into the summer can get. So, again, just really big here with, there's stuff from the Seahawks and some off-season workouts and stuff like that as they wrapped up their off-season program. The Mariners obviously continue to roll on, and that's a fun story to watch as they sit atop the American League West Division. The Storm, another good week. 2 wins and 1 loss is a good week. You'll take the 2 wins there out of 3 games. The Sounders get a nice win as they celebrated their 50th anniversary celebration match. The Rain split points with Portland, which, considering how the Rain season has gone so far this year, you'll take the split against a rival there. The Seawolves fall to the top team in Major League Rugby. The Kraken had some news regarding their coaching staff and signing another young player to an entry-level contract. So we'll get into all of that, of course, as we do with the only show in the city of Seattle that goes as in-depth with as many teams as we do. We're beginning with our Seahawks, as always. June 10th, the team hosted wide receiver Robbie Chosen for a tryout at minicamp. If you don't know who Robbie Chosen is, he's changed his name a few times. His wide receiver is Robbie Anderson previously known as Chosen Anderson as well. Currently a free agent. The Seahawks did not sign him to a deal after his tryout. He's been around the league a little bit. Spent the first 4 seasons of his career with the New York Jets. Posted decently solid numbers there, but never really was a number 1 type guy. Spent the 2 full seasons in Carolina, 2020 and 2021, before spending only 6 games with the Panthers in 2022, and the remaining 10 games with the Cardinals in 2010, and then playing 9 games last year with the Miami Dolphins, but only catching 4 passes. His real big year came in 2020, where he was a 1,000-yard receiver with the Panthers, started all 16 games, caught 3 touchdowns, 1,000 yards on the year there. A few rushing attempts, but nothing that was really too crazy outside of that. Again, you look at a pretty decently long career. I mean, been in the league since 2016. Seahawks kicking the tires here to see what he might have still to go in the NFL. But, as it looks right now, I don't know. Considering that he didn't sign a deal with the Seahawks after this invite to minicamp, I don't know if we'll see it, but the team's offseason is done with that program. So maybe they're just going to wait to do that. Also announced on the 10th, the team announced that they would be hosting Football Fest at Lumen Field once again. It will take place this year on August 3rd. Gates will open at 12 p.m. Pacific, and practice will begin at 1 p.m. From the release that the Seahawks put out, Seattle Football Fest offers an exclusive opportunity to watch the team practice at Lumen Field. In attendance, in addition to the practice on the field, will be the Seahawks dancers, Blue Thunder, and Blitz. Autographs, a football toss, and giveaways will follow, and exclusive opportunities to interact with the players and coaching staff. The tickets start for this event at $12, and parking is available at Lumen Field for $20. So that's available. I mean, it's kind of cool. You've got all of the training camp days that will take place for the Seahawks closer to the season, and those do have fan access. Some are restricted. But then this is a big sort of it's their version of Fan Fest in a way for the Seahawks. So there is that announcement. June 11th, it was announced that prior to their preseason game on August 17th, the Seahawks will head to Nashville early for joint practices with the Tennessee Titans. The Seahawks did not do this sort of thing during the Pete Carroll era, and they really haven't done this since 1991 in Portland when they scrimmaged the Atlanta Falcons at Portland State University. Previously, from that, they had some scrimmages with the Houston Oilers for 3 consecutive preseason scrimmages dating from 1986 to 1988, the last of which was played at the Tacoma Dome. So there is that. Further looking into it, on the 11th, the team tweaked the contract of defensive tackle Jerron Reed. Reed essentially had $530,000 from his deal turned into part of the base of his contract. It was previously incentives. There's not a lot that happens with this. The max value remains the same, and all of that contract is non-guaranteed. This wasn't about clearing up any cap space. His cap number really didn't move very much at all. It seems more to be that Seattle's giving a small contract sweetener to a player that had played a lot of snaps for them last season and still will be a big part of the plans under head coach Mike Macdonald. We're going to continue with things as we have the last few weeks with getting some minicamp notes from Seattle Times Seahawks beat writer Bob Condotta from minicamp. This is on the 11th. The same guys who missed OTAs due to injury were sidelined again, including Abe Lucas, Anthony Bradford, Tyrell Dodson, Jerome Baker, Jarek Reed II, and Cameron Young. Cameron Young out with what Mike Macdonald said is a lower body injury. Punter Michael Dixon was absent as he is getting married. Backup tight end Brady Russell handled the holds in his absence. George Fant also did not take part in the end of practice with an injury, but it didn't appear serious as he stayed on the field in uniform. Abe Lucas watched some of practice from the sideline, which is the first time that he'd been seen there. McDonald said he had no update on Lucas other than he is still shooting for training camp. With no offensive tackles in Abe Lucas or George Fant, Raekwon O'Neal worked at the right tackle position with the number 1 offensive line group at the end of practice. McClendon Curtis remained the number 1 right guard with Olu Oluwatimi at center, Laken Tomlinson at left guard, and Charles Cross at left tackle. Linebacker John Radigan and cornerback Trey Brown each had interceptions in this practice. The Seahawks also had actual NFL referees officiating that day, and they would have them the next day, and they would have a rules meeting with the officials and players the next day. This often happened in training camp in the past, but the Seahawks had been getting that done there. Linebacker Blake Lynch had also been attending camp on a tryout basis. On the 12th of June, defensive tackle Buda Jones, who had been placed on waivers so that the Seahawks could sign quarterback P.J. Walker, cleared those waivers and was placed on the team's injured reserve. And we go into more minicamp notes from Bob Condotta. A few other notes on what had turned out to be the last of Seattle's minicamp practices, as we'll get to why that was later. Good day for the defense with 5 interceptions in 11-on-11 sessions, including a pick 6 from cornerback Michael Jackson. Geno Smith threw 2 picks, and Sam Howell threw 3. Wide receiver Jackson Smith and Jigba left practice early with a shoulder issue, but Mike Macdonald indicated that it was not serious. Wide receiver and kick returner Laviska Shenault also left early after injuring his toe. Offensive tackle George Fant did not practice due to load management, but offensive lineman Anthony Bradford was back after missing much of the last few weeks with an ankle injury. With George Fant and Gabe Lucas out, Raekwon O'Neal continued to work as a starting right tackle. In some comments here, Mike Macdonald liked the team's offseason and canceled the next practice, which would have been the last mini camp session. So that would have been that next day. Yes. Mike Macdonald said the Seahawks got to start a week earlier than teams with returning head coaches, which is true, which we've been telling you. So they've been going at it since April 8th with that offseason program. Seattle also had a separate minicamp in April that is allowed for teams with first-year head coaches, and as Macdonald noted, the team appears to have gotten through the offseason programs largely healthy. Training camp will start in late July, so really they won't be long until they're back out on the field. The other really significant piece of news for the Seahawks over the past week was that they restructured the contract of defensive lineman Draymond Jones, who they've moved around quite a bit. They've had him lining up in the middle of the defensive line, as well as the outside linebacker position, which is pretty interesting to see. The move created $7.4 million in salary cap space for the 2024 season. Jones originally signed a 3-year contract with $51.5 million in March 2023, the largest the Seahawks have handed out to an external free agent after he played his first 4 years of his career with the Denver Broncos. Jones was due a base salary of $11 million for this season. The Seahawks turned $9.875 million of a 2024 salary into a bonus, the maximum allowed since players have to earn at least a minimum salary each year. They added 2 void years in 2026 and 2027 at the end of his contract in addition to this. Turning the salary into a bonus allows the Seahawks to spread $9.875 million over what are now 4 remaining years of the deal, or $2.485 million each year. That drops his cap number from $18.1 million for this year to $10.7 million, but adds $2.48 million to the 2025 cap and pushes $4.937 million into 2026. So essentially, all that does is it gives the Seahawks money to operate. They were really tight against the cap after they had signed all of their draft picks from this year's 2024 class. So getting some cap money, pushing some money around really makes sense and really shouldn't impact much outside of this. So as we mentioned, this was the last part of the offseason program, and the Seahawks will be back for training camp in July. I wouldn't put it out of the realm of possibility that we'll have notes, bits, and pieces here and there for the Seahawks, but for now, that's all we've got. Moving along, we keep things rolling with the Mariners, who, as I've mentioned, sit atop the American League West Division, and with a big homestand, a 7-game homestand this past week at T-Mobile Park, that only continued. So we'll get into it. They began that homestand June 10th versus the Chicago White Sox with an 8-4 victory, a dramatic 8-4 victory. They had gone down to Chicago in this game. It didn't really look too good, but they were able to put together a comeback, tied at 4-4, and then in the 9th inning, Cal Raleigh hit a walk-off grand slam to end the game and ensure that we really weren't gonna need to see the Mariners lose that first game of the series to a Chicago White Sox team that's been historically bad. Our player of the game is catcher Cal Raleigh. 1 hit, 1 run, and 4 RBIs. A game-winning grand slam to walk things off is pretty damn solid. June 11th versus the White Sox to make sure that they would at least guarantee a series split in the 4-game set was a 4-3 win. Once again, our player of the game is catcher Cal Raleigh. 2 hits, 3 RBIs, including a clutch late hit to give the Mariners a lead that they wouldn't have to look back from, and the bullpen would be able to hold things down. They wouldn't have to walk it off that time. They would get the tight victory. Just kind of more showing early in the games, the Mariners struggling against the White Sox starting pitching, but able to get after the bullpen. They would make it dramatic once again to win the series on June 12th versus the White Sox, a 2-1 result. Our player of the game, starting pitcher Bryce Miller, 7 innings pitched, 2 hits allowed, no runs against, 2 walks, and 8 strikeouts on the night. The Mariners would walk it off in extras as Mitch Haniger hit a bloop single to right center field to score Luke Raley and win this one. They would not complete the 4-game sweep or the mop, as I've been told that is with the 4-game series, as they would lose on June 13th to the White Sox by a score of 2-3. This was another instance where they had opportunities to come back and really push ahead, but again, offense largely struggles against the starter, and the Mariners drop this one. They do win 3 of 4, which is never something to scoff at, and it's really hard to beat the same team 4 times in a row. It's just how it goes, even when they're historically bad, like the White Sox. Our player of the game, first baseman Tyler Locklear. As I mentioned last week, Locklear brought up for the Mariners with Ty France dealing with that right heel fracture. 1 hit, 1 run, 1 RBI. That 1 hit in this game was a solo homer, his first career homer at the big league level. So great to see for Mr. Locklear. From that series, to continue the homestand, the Mariners began a 3-game weekend set against the Texas Rangers to continue things and really give them an opportunity to help build their lead atop the American League West Division, and especially considering that Texas is the team right below them for second place in the American League West Division. The first 2 games of this series were on national television, Friday on Apple TV, and then Saturday on Fox. That June 14th game was a 3-2 victory. Our player of the game, designated hitter Mitch Garver. Garver, 1 hit, 1 run, 2 RBIs, and 2 walks, including a 2-run homer. Really big there. Luis Castillo had a nice night. Garver had that 2-run homer. The Mariners would get 1 run shortly after, and their offense sadly sputtered to really add on much more outside of that. But the pitching staff, as always, continues to remain historic, remain excellent, and the Mariners get the series opener on a Friday night. And they moved to 6-0 when wearing their City Connect jerseys this year. June 15th, to win the series, the Mariners would take that victory on Saturday 7-5. Our player of the game, third baseman Josh Rojas. Rojas, 2 hits, 3 runs, 3 RBIs, and 2 walks in this game, including a solo homer. This game would have had a much bigger result. It would have been a 7-1 victory as the Mariners had that lead going into the top of the 9th inning, but relief pitcher Eduard Bizardo really struggled, and the Texas lineup was able to take advantage to play 4 runs. Ryan Stanek came in to slam the door shut finally, but it got a little bit interesting there. The Mariners do win that series, and they looked for the sweep on Sunday, which they would get. June 16th versus the Rangers on Father's Day, a 5-0 win. Our player of the game, starting pitcher Logan Gilbert. Gilbert was absolutely masterful in this game. 8 innings pitched, 2 hits allowed, no runs, no walks, 9 strikeouts, and 21 swing and miss, which led the day in MLB on 101 pitches. Gilbert truly in Walter mode and just absolutely dominant against the Rangers to help the Mariners get a 3-game sweep of Texas. So that was big there. We'll keep it going into our player of the week. I wasn't sure who was going to be this week. Nobody really stood out to me. We could go to pitching and just give this award to the pitching staff just about every week, it feels like, but that's not how we do things. I went with Julio Rodriguez. Julio has been heating up as of late. Over the past 7 games, this homestand, 7 hits, 6 runs, 2 homers, 4 RBIs, 3 walks, 2 stolen bases, a .259 batting average, a .333 on-base percentage, a .41 slugging percentage, and an .814 OPS. While those numbers aren't super jumping off the page type, results, they're solid, and it's nice to see Julio steadily continue to climb and be a key contributor for this Mariners ball club. I guess we can talk about it. Another 6-1 homestand. You look at the past 2 homestands for the Mariners, both of them 7-game homestands. You get the 4 games against the Astros and then the 3 games against the Angels the last time out. Then this past homestand, 4 games against the White Sox, 3 games against the Rangers. You're doing really, really well against the American League West Division. You're taking care of business. You're winning series, as we've talked about for, is this 3 years now on CSS on Converge? You keep winning the series. That's what truly matters. You're not going to get sweeps every single time. It's just not realistic in the game of baseball. You play 162 games. You play teams for 3 games in a series, largely outside of, the exceptions here and there. And I just think they really are doing their job, and the pitching's been great. The offense is finding something here, and you're building that lead in the division. When you look at the steps to hopefully go deep, you want to win the division. You want to get to the playoffs, win, and from there, you kind of pitching is what will get you far in the playoffs. And as we've talked about for the past few years, the Mariners have that pitching. So, step 1 is win the division, and you're doing yourselves a great deal moving forward right now with that. You've got I don't know the exact number. I believe it was 8.5 game lead in the division. We'll find that out here. That's just sort of unprecedented. We haven't seen that from the Mariners in such a long time. An 8.5 game lead over Texas in the division. sitting at 43-31 right now. The Rangers are 5 games under 500. The Mariners are 12 games over 500. We look at the American League. The Mariners sit at 4th best. They're 1 game behind the Guardians, who they will begin a series against here next this upcoming week. And then you've got the 2 heavyweights right now in the American League West. In the American League, in the Yankees and the Orioles, who you played earlier in the year, a few weeks ago, and you split the 4-game series against the Yankees and really didn't do too hot against the Orioles, which is just fine. I'm not super worried about that. You look at all of MLB, the Mariners have 2, 4, 6, the 7th best record in the American League, in all of Major League Baseball. They've got more wins than the team above them in the Brewers, and there's only 5 teams ahead of them with more wins in baseball right now. So it's pretty remarkable to see that and to know that the Mariners have not hit another gear with their offense. Their pitching continues to be excellent. They've had to kind of touch and go with Andres Munoz as he's dealt with a back injury. You don't have Gregory Santos yet. You don't have Gabe Spire right now with an injury, but he should be back somewhat soon. So all of this to say, and the talk happens every single year. I think, truly, obviously, we don't know what the next few years will hold, but this is, right now, and looking at the last few years, this is the best position the Mariners have been in to add in quite a long time, and they need to. I'm not saying you go and trade the entire farm for one player, because I don't think that makes sense necessarily. And Justin Hollander and Jerry Dipoto won't do that, but you do add somebody that will help you. I don't think you add a first baseman, truthfully. I don't think it makes sense to bring in a Pete Alonso. I don't think it makes sense to bring in a Vladimir Guerrero Jr. But there are other guys that could make a lot of sense, including someone who is just playing here. I won't say that because I'm not going to speculate. And I think that deal might be too much for the Mariners to swing. But it's the time. And I think there's some talk about they need to add a bullpen guy. I wouldn't say no to that per se, but you need a bat first. So it'll be interesting over the next few weeks and as we approach the trade deadline to see what teams truly do become sellers and who the Mariners might try to zero in on, but they really do need to add if you want to take advantage of what is really becoming a special group so far this year. So we'll keep going with team and injury-related news. We've got a lot of ups and downs and moves here, as well as a fun story that isn't move-related necessarily. June 10th, on Monday, infielder Leo Rivas was recalled from AAA Tacoma as outfielder Dylan Moore was placed on the paternity list as his wife and Dylan welcomed another child into the mix. On June 11th, left-handed pitcher Jonathan Diaz was recalled from AAA Tacoma. He wore number 74 and only made 1 start, but it was an impactful start as the Mariners would be without Brian Wu as he underwent an MRI. Thankfully, that MRI came back completely clean, and Wu will be pitching next week on the road. But the Mariners did need to bring in Diaz, and it was effectively a spot start. And considering the situation, how difficult that was, they need not bad. Additionally, Arda was recalled from AAA Tacoma, and with those picking up, the Mariners did have to free up a few roster spots. Right-handed pitcher Matt Bowman was designated for assignment. He has since cleared waivers and elected free agency. And left-handed pitcher Kirby Snead was designated for assignment. He cleared waivers and was outrighted to AAA Tacoma. I was going to look up Dylan Moore, the name of his baby, while I was doing this. There we go. On the 12th, right-handed pitcher and reliever Brett DeGus was recalled from AAA Tacoma, and Jonathan Diaz, who made the start the night before, was optioned back down to AAA Tacoma. June 13th, Dylan Moore was reinstated from the paternity list after his newest born child, Mateo Jose, was welcomed as him and Paula, and Dylan welcomed their newest child, in addition to Pia and Lucas. So that was very cool. Yes, Mateo Jose made the Moores a family of 5. on June 10th. So that was very cool to see. Congratulations to Dylan and Paula there. Additionally, right-handed pitcher Emerson Hancock was recalled from AAA Tacoma. Hancock made a start on the night of the 13th as the Mariners reslotted their rotation just to give a few of the starters another day of rest and deal. Because this, you have to think about this. You know, the Mariners are still, I think at that point, we're still in their stretch of 30 games in 31 days. So the lack of rest was, certainly hurting more guys than, fans will know about. So nice for Hancock. And he pitched 7 innings that game. I mean, he gave up 2 runs, which is fine, but 7 innings, 2 runs. The bullpen was very taxed at that point in time, so they needed him to go 7 innings, which is a career high for Hancock. Very serviceable work. So thank you to Emerson for that. He was recalled from Tacoma, and he did make that start there. A couple of corresponding moves to this. Infielder Leo Rivas was optioned to AAA Tacoma, and so was right-handed pitcher Brett DeGuss. So there is that. We'll look over here. There is all that team notes, but over the past week and on that June 13th day, the Mariners, there are folks who complain about the Mariners throwing things back and looking back into their history or lack thereof. But this was a fun event. I looked at it as that, and there's a reason I took the hat off. The Mariners had the 30th anniversary of Buhner Buzz Night. Jay Buhner was back. The Mariners held this event at Victory Hall across the street, right next to Hatback Bar and Grill and Steelheads Alley. And there were a bunch of barber chairs lined up. There were a bunch of barbers shaving people's heads. You could go with the skin fade. I have alopecia, so I don't get haircuts. Alopecia areata, if you're interested. And there were some folks who just kind of did the buzz. Jay Buhner was there. He was shaving fans' heads. But a Mariners player did volunteer as Cal Raleigh elected to have his head shaved by Jay Buhner. The Mariners official team barber went and helped clean that all up, give his beard and his mustache a little bit of a fix there. And that was fun. So it was cool to see Raleigh elected to do that. It was fun having some of his teammates react to that. Luke Raley, Cal Raleigh was trying to get Luke Raley to do it too. But I asked Luke when he was in the dugout after I saw Raleigh get his head shaved. I said, "Were you going to do it too?" And he says, "After seeing Cal, I know I made the right decision not to." And I was like, "Wow, all right." Even the next day, I was walking into the clubhouse and Cal was behind me, and I didn't know who the hell it was when I first saw him, and it took me a second to realize. So anyway, the Mariners have provided some video here, so we're going to show you that. And afterwards, I will read you a few different numbers from the Buhner Buzz. So we will look at that right here.
Cal, how was the first barber that took on the challenge?
I did great. I haven't actually seen what it looks like yet, so hopefully it's hey, if it has hits in it, I'll take it. So that's what he said. He's just got hits. So
Cal, what made you want to do this?
it's just it's a good thing to do. It's kind of cool getting to interact with former players and getting to know them and getting involved with the fans, and it's something fun to do with the community. So.
And that's just that the fans are here, they're cheering for you, and obviously it's been a great summer so far. Just what it means to have that support, even for something like this, like shaving your head.
Yeah, it's always fun to get out here and see everybody and do things like this. And, it's just hair, it'll grow back, so it's fun. We look back one day and it'll be a pretty cool moment.
You couldn't convince any of your teammates to come do this with you?
Rayleigh said he would, but I didn't see no side of him, so couldn't find him.
Did you work on Stanek at all?
Stanek, no, I don't think anybody's touching that hair for a long time. So
if your next at bat is a home run, you got to keep it shaved, right?
Yeah, I'll keep it shaved.
Is your helmet gonna fit?
Yeah, I might need to go down in size, I guess. So.
Cal, did you ever shave your head before?
Yeah. Not this close, not this tight.
Your mom is not going to be
My mom, sorry about that.
I've
had buzz cuts, but I've never been really skin fade like this. So this is a first, I guess. What?
Feel faster?
Feel lighter. I don't know about faster, but lighter.
Were you apprehensive at all about doing this?
No. Whatever. It's just
How
air.
does it feel right now? Like different? Like
I feel a little draft, so yeah, it's about the biggest thing. So.
Hey, Cal, did you know anything about the history of this event that started back in 1994? And when did you learn about it?
When they brought it up this year. Obviously, being here a couple of years, I heard about it, and we're going to bring it. That'd be a cool little thing to do.
From the videos there, here are a few numbers to look at. This year, the 620 fans participated in the Buhner Buzz Night. 437 fans had their heads shaved, including 7 women, and 183 fans arrived bald. I don't know if they included me. I am bald. I arrived. I did get a t-shirt. I love free things. So you look at it, the 8-year Buhner Buzz totals, 8 different occurrences this time happened from 1994 to 1999, 2001, as well as 2024. 22,922 fans have participated in the event. 19,828 heads were shaved, including 305 women, and 3,094 fans arrived bald. Yay, bald. Yay. Okay, sorry. We'll keep it going. To wrap up the team-related notes, June 14th, right-handed pitcher and reliever Cody Bolton was recalled from AAA Tacoma. The Mariners once again have a full bullpen with that move. And after his spot start, right-handed pitcher Emerson Hancock was optioned to AAA Tacoma to close out the week. So looking ahead, the Mariners sit at a 43-win, 31-loss record, first in the American League West, as we have mentioned, raw. Looking ahead, they begin a road trip now with this. They will have Monday the 17th off, which is today, in case you did not know what day it was. Good morning. Welcome back to the world. Good afternoon. Good night. And they will have a day off after this road trip ends. It is a 9-game and 9-day road trip, which is kind of brutal, but here we are. June 18th and 19th against the Cleveland Guardians are both 3:40 p.m. first pitch times. June 20th at the Cleveland Guardians is a 10:10 a.m. first pitch time. Then from Cleveland, and one of the best teams in the American League, the Mariners will go on to play the Miami Marlins for a 3-game weekend set. Beginning June 21st at the Marlins is a 4:10 p.m. Pacific time start. June 22nd at the Marlins is a 1:10 p.m. start. And then to go and close things out against the Marlins June 23rd is a 10:40 a.m. start. The Marlins currently sit at the bottom of the NL East division at 23-48 with a win percentage of .324. They are 12 games back of a wild card spot. The Marlins and the Rockies are essentially the bottom of the National League, and every team outside of that could potentially make the playoffs this year, as the worst odds outside of them are the Cubs and the Mets, who are both a game and a half out of their respective wild cards. So, merp. From the Mariners, we go over into the Storm segment of the show, and just like last week, 2-1 record over the past 3 games. That's winning. I mean, I'll take that, but how that loss came about isn't fun, and we'll look at that. So, anyway, the first 2 games of the week are both Commissioner's Cup games, as the Storm were not, unfortunately, able to continue into the Commissioner's Cup championship game that will be hosted by the New York Liberty. They played 1 game at home this past week. That was June 11th versus the LA Sparks, an LA Sparks team that's largely figuring things out. Does have some young talent, though, in Rakia Jackson and Cameron Brink. De'Erica Hamby's having a great year. Former Storm player Kia Nurse is down there now as well. So is Jordan Canada, other former Storm player. So is Steph Talbot. Yes, a bunch of former Storm players. I'm sorry. The Storm would win this one by a score of 95-79. Our player of the game forward, Nneka Ogwumike, or as Jewel Lloyd called her in the post-game press conference, Big Shot Neck. Or Nneka, Big Shot Nneka. She used both of those during the post-game press conference, to which Nneka said, "They don't call me that." And I'll include that clip here.
No, I mean, she's Big Shot Nneka. That's not what they call me, but okay. Yeah. It started now. What do you mean? Okay. I just told the secret to the world. Sorry, I haven't said it more to you. Maybe the first time I've heard that, folks. Just letting you know. Yeah, that's crazy.
Thoughts on just what she did in that fourth quarter?
Yeah, Big Shot Nneka. I love that.
Nneka, 26 points, 8 rebounds, 1 assist, and 2 blocks on the night. Ogwumike was big for the Storm in closing out her former team, hitting some big shots on the night and shooting 73% from the field in this game, which is absolutely ridiculous. As the Storm, they held the lead throughout the course of this game. The Sparks would not back down, though. They are a team that will fight, and they did do that. But thankfully, with the help of Ogwumike, the Storm would pull away in this one in front of a nice crowd at Climate Pledge Arena. Then the Storm would go on the road for the first of a 3-game road trip, June 13th at the Dallas Wings, a 92-84 victory. This game didn't start out too hot for the Storm. Dallas was using their size inside. I believe it was Kalani Brown. We can get that right here. Tiara McCowan and Dallas were really helping to put that together, using their size. As outside of Mercedes Russell, Seattle's roster is largely a smaller roster to an extent, at least compared to what Kalani Brown. I was right. Yay. Kalani Brown and Tiara McCowan, 2 6'7" centers on that roster. And they were doing this without forward Natasha Howard, which is kind of incredible to think about. And I believe Satu Sabale is still out. Yes. So, but the Storm would win this one. If the Storm had won this game by 50 points, because of point differential, they would have advanced over the Minnesota Lynx into the Commissioner's Cup final. But because they didn't do that, because both the Storm and the Lynx finished with a 4-1 record in Commissioner's Cup play, but the Lynx had the point differential advantage by 50 points, the Lynx advanced to play the Liberty in the Commissioner's Cup final. So that will be that. Our player of the game for this win on June 13th at the Wings was guard Skylar Diggins-Smith. Sky, 21 points, 3 rebounds, 6 assists, and 2 steals on the night as the Storm closed out Commissioner's Cup play. And then to wrap up the weekend, this was the one loss of the week, as you can tell. June 16th at the Mercury, a 78-87 loss. Our player of the game, guard Skylar Diggins-Smith, with 14 points, 6 rebounds, 8 assists, 1 steal, and 1 block. Seattle had 4 starters in double digits, and Jordan Horston had double digits off the bench, but they really couldn't contain the Storm from the perimeter. Brittany Griner had a big game in this one. Her and Kalia Copper combined for, I believe it was 58 points in this one. Yes, 58 points. Kalia Copper, 30 points, 3 for 7 from the 3-point line, 5 for 5 from the free throw line. Brittany Griner, 28 points in this one, 10 for 15 from the field. She had a 3-pointer as well. 9 rebounds, 2 blocks in this one. BG really kind of established herself in this game, as the Mercury are kind of starting to put things together once again. And the Storm struggled from 3. They're not a 3-point shooting team, but nonetheless they struggled. 5 for 26 from the 3-point line, 19.2% percentage. The only starters to hit 3-pointers were Diggins-Smith and Victoria Vivians. Those two went 3 for 8 together. This was a tough one. I mean, Seattle really could not handle Phoenix from the 3-point line in this one. Phoenix 7 for 18. Phoenix shot 50% overall. Brittany Griner had a big game. Kalia Copper had a big game. Seattle did make a push late, but it wasn't enough, and Phoenix was able to hold them off. And the Storm have now lost just 2 of their last 10 games, which isn't the end of the world. Some people will react as it is, but I mean, I look at it as, this, and this has been pushed from all of us at Circling Seattle Sports, whether it's Christian, Rowan, myself. This team will continue to grow and learn. It's a 40-game season. It's not, what are they at now, a 14-game season. You'll have a lot to learn. They were without Mercedes Russell. We'll look at the injury availability reports right after I finish this. It's not the end of the world. Brittany Griner's one of the best players in the world. Kalia Copper obviously showed she's one of the better players in the league. It's going to happen. So we look at it. The injury reports against the Sparks and the Wings were both clean, but June 16th at the Mercury Center, Mercedes Russell was out with an illness. This was a late addition closer to game time. It was clean the night before, but Russell has an illness and missed that game. Our player of the week for this past week for the Storm, I went with Nneka Agumake. Skylar Diggins-Smith had some solid numbers over the past 3 games, but I went with Nneka. Over the past 3 games, she had a 19.33 points per game, 8.33 rebounds per game, 1 assist per game, 1.33 steals per game, and a 0.66 blocks per game. Nneka continues to be big. She continues to be the steadying presence for this Storm team. And, as long as you keep her involved, you keep getting her the ball, whether it is, seeing her hit some great shots off dribble handoffs, getting her involved any way you can, Seattle will be just fine. So the only thing we've got here in regards to team-related notes is on the 11th, we found out that guard Jewel Lloyd was named to the Team USA roster for the 2024 Olympics. It will be the second Olympic Games for Lloyd. The Lincolnwood, Illinois native was part of the 2022 USA women's national team, which captured its 11th World Cup gold medal in Sydney. The world title also qualified the U.S. for the Paris Games. Lloyd was part of the national team that won the gold medal at the 2020 Tokyo Games. So congratulations to the Gold Mamba on that. The Storm sit at a 9-win, 5-loss record, good for 4th overall in the WNBA, 2nd in the Western Conference behind those Minnesota Lynx. Looking ahead, they play 2 games this week, 1 on the road, 1 at home to begin an 8-game homestand. June 19th at the Las Vegas Aces is a 7 o'clock start. That's on ESPN Las Vegas, 1100 a.m. and 100.9 FM. Fox 13 Plus and Amazon Prime Video in Seattle. It's also on NBA TV and Silver State Sports and Entertainment Network. June 23rd versus the Connecticut Sun is a 12 p.m. noon start time. That is on Fox 13 Plus and Amazon Prime Video in Seattle, NBA TV Canada, NBC Sports Boston, and ESPN 3.
Hey, Charles.
Hey, Jen.
Hey, where are you going to watch the Seattle Storm away games this year?
Away games. Well, Rough and Tumble is the home of Circling Seattle Sports. So I was thinking of coming here if that's okay with you.
I think that makes a lot of sense. See you all here.
Keeping things going with our Sounders segment of the show here, outside of the loss to Sporting Kansas City on the road, the Sounders really have a past few weeks, past month maybe, of positive momentum in terms of results. Not always wins, but just getting away from the struggles of the early part of the season, and that continued with this match this past Saturday. So we'll get into it. June 15th versus Minnesota United at home at Lumen Field. The Sounders would win this one by a score of 2-0. Jordan Morris scored off a header on a corner kick in the first half. Then in the second half, a nice play as Leo Chu was able to get a ball across the goal line to Paul Rothrock on a wide open goal net as the goalkeeper for Minnesota had come out to stop Chu. 2-0 victory, the 109th clean sheet of Stephen Fry's career. The Sounders win with this large contingent of Sounders history in attendance for this one. Our player of the match, midfielder João Paulo, an 8.9 match rating, 90% passing percentage on this. Some of the numbers for João in this match are crazy. 97 passes completed of 109 attempts, 3 chances created in this one. Not a high expected goals or expected assists, but just being a true maestro of the midfield. 14 passes into the final third, even defensively. 7 interceptions, 11 defensive actions, 12 recoveries, 6 duels. He was fouled 4 times. Paulo just massive in this match as the Sounders get a big victory. The pre-match injury report against Minnesota, 3 players questionable, nobody out in this one. Nobody listed out at least. With Pedro de la Vega still not really available for selection. The Sounders had Jonathan Bell continuing to be questionable with that hamstring injury. Nathan was out with a questionable with quad injury. And again, of course, Pedro de la Vega questionable with a hamstring injury. We'll keep it moving into team-related notes here. On June 10th, MLS announced its top 25 best-selling Adidas jerseys for the first half of the 2024 regular season. This year, the Sounders had 4 players among the top 25 rankings, with Pedro de la Vega at 6th, Jordan Morris at 7th, João Paulo at 11th, and Christian Roldan at 21st. The rankings are based on overall retail sales of Adidas MLS jerseys on MLSstore.com since the beginning of the season through April 30th. The Rave Green's 4 players on the list ranked second amongst all MLS clubs, behind only Inter Miami FC, who led all clubs with 5 in the top 25. Those rankings marked De La Vega's first appearance among the best-selling Adidas jerseys list after the Argentinian winger joined the club earlier this year, obviously. Morris makes his 8th appearance on the list, having never ranked outside of the top 10. The Mercer Island native finished 4th in 2016, 17 in 2020, 7th in 2019, 9th in 22, 5th in the first half of 23, and 2nd in the second half. João Paulo makes his second appearance on the list after finishing 25th in the first half of the 2023 season. Christian Roldan makes his 8th consecutive appearance on the jersey list. The midfielder finished 22nd in 2017 and 18, 12th in 2019, 24th in 2020, 6th in 2021, and 14th in 2022. Roldan ranked 12th in the first half of 2023 before climbing to 10th in the second half of 2023. Continuing with team-related news, on the 12th, to commemorate the club's 50th anniversary, the Sounders announced the Eternal Sounders Circle of Legends, an exclusive honor for those that have distinguished themselves as the greatest players, coaches, and builders in Sounders history. Born of the club's democracy and sports ethos, the nomination and selection process give a voice to Alliance members, Alliance Council, Sounders FC alumni, club representatives and media, among others, to immortalize the best to ever wear the shield. The commemorative endeavor will identify and elect only the individuals deemed worthy by the Sounders community to be officially enshrined during the 50th anniversary celebration against Minnesota. The inaugural 1974 Sounders NASL squad was the first honorary inductees into the Eternal Sounders Circle of Legends, with representatives from the team set to be recognized before the game, as they were. With all of the trophies on the pitch, it was very nice to see that. It was really cool to see so many Sounders throughout the course of history on the field pre-match. Alumni from every Sounders team, dating back to the club's very first year, were part of that special pre-match ceremony. In addition to paying homage to the club's founding year during the 50th anniversary celebration on Saturday, the Rave Green also unveiled the full details regarding eligibility, nomination, selection, and induction for the Eternal Sounders Circle of Legends for 2025 and beyond. There are 4 categories of individuals that can be inducted: MLS-era players, veteran players of the pre-MLS era, coaches of all eras, as well as the builder category to recognize those that have made a significant impact off of the pitch. The intent is to hold an annual heritage tradition to celebrate soccer in the Puget Sound community for generations to come. So that should be really cool to see. It is supposed to be somewhat similar to what the Seahawks have for the Ring of Honor at Lumen Field. It is going to be a physical representation at Lumen Field that fans can look at and see and just witness in person. There were a few banners for that inaugural 1974 team, as well as a banner that mentioned the Eternal Sounders Circle of Legends. But per some reporting, it was said that the banners that the club got were smaller than what they had hoped for, and there is some cleanup, I believe, to be made there. So it'll be interesting to see how that all works out. Let's see what kind of other details we can find to figure out. A list of eligible candidates will be compiled at the end of each season and remain on the ballot for up to 3 years, with some allowances for extenuating circumstances. Up to 6 nominees will be chosen by a panel made of 4 Sounders alumni, 2 Alliance Council members, 2 owners, and 2 staff members. They'll then send their selection to a larger body that will be made up of current and former players and coaches, current full-time Sounders soccer and business staff who have been with the team multiple years, owners, Alliance Council, Alliance members, and accredited media. Those various voting blocks will be weighted with Alliance members counting for 25%, alumni counting for 20%, Alliance Council counting for 15%, owners counting for 15%, media counting for 15%, and staff counting for 10%. To gain induction, nominees will need to appear on 75% of ballots. The Sounders sit at a 5-win, 7-loss, 6-draw record, good for 21 points in Major League Soccer. They are 16th in the MLS overall, 9th in the Western Conference. Looking ahead, they've got 2 matches this week, one at home, one on the road. June 19th at the Houston Dynamo is a 5:30 p.m. Pacific time start on Apple TV. That is a free match to watch. And then June 22nd, at home versus FC Dallas is a 7:30 p.m. Pacific time start. This is on Apple TV, MLS Season Pass, and it is the Sounders Pride match. So that should be fun to see what sort of activations and fun the Sounders have in store at Lumen Field.
Hey, Charles.
Hey, Jen.
Hey. So where are you going to watch all of the Sounder away games this year?
Away games for the Sounders. Since Rough and Tumble is the home of Circling Seattle Sports, I was thinking of coming here, if that's okay with you.
I think that's a great idea. Go Sounders. Hope we see y'all here.
So, from the Sounders segment of the show, we go into the Kraken segment of the show. And while things have been relatively quiet in terms of our Kraken, there was the hiring of head coach Dan Bilesma earlier in the offseason. We're looking at a lot of stuff where Matty Beniers and the Kraken have begun contract talks at the moment. We found out the draft order and the respective draft picks that the Kraken will have. And then the draft will happen later in the month. As the Stanley Cup finals are happening right now. There hasn't really been a lot going on in Kraken news. So we'll get into that right now. We've got 2 pieces of news here in Kraken-related coverage, and some might say, where are Firebirds coverage? That's on the Circling Seattle Sports YouTube account, not this one. This is Pro Sports. So we'll go into it. June 12th, the team lost assistant coach Jay Leach to the Boston Bruins. Leach had previously been considered for the head coaching job in Seattle, and he coached the defenseman here in Seattle. Now he goes back to Boston and leaves Seattle now with 2 open assistant roles at the NHL level, 1 head coach position at the AHL level, obviously with Bilesma making the jump up. It's going to be very interesting to see, with the Kraken, with a few spots open, Paul McFarland gone as he led the power play. I believe Leach was responsible for the penalty kill. So you've got special teams to take care of. You've got the defensive aspect of the game to take care of. And who knows, maybe Bilesma will want to make other changes within the coaching staff as well. So that's something to look at. There was a talk at the introductory press conference that Jessica Campbell could be considered, Stu Bickle can be considered for these coaching jobs, but we don't know that as of yet. Obviously, the Firebirds are in the Calder Cup finals. By the time you're watching this, these series is split 1 game apiece, as the series now moves for the next 3 games to Coachella Valley. So we will see how that all goes, but something to think about, with the draft coming up and then free agency as well. So it'll be a busy offseason for the Kraken, even though it's largely been quiet for the past few weeks. We continue here on the 14th. The team signed forward and prospect Oscar Fisker-Molgaard to his 3-year entry-level contract at $950,000 AAV. Fister Molgaard agreed to terms with the Kraken after a career year with HV71 of the Swedish Hockey League, the SHL, setting new career highs across the score sheet with 21 points, 9 goals, and 12 assists. His goals and assists both ranked 6th in the league, while his 21 points were tied for the 6th amongst all HV71 skaters. The center finished the 2023-24 season ranked 3rd in points and 2nd in assists among all U20 SHL skaters. He had previously played 7 postseason SHL relegation games with HV71, recording 3 assists in that span and helping the team avoid relegation. In total, the 6-foot, 168-pound center tallied 28 points, 13 goals, and 15 assists across 91 career regular season SHL games with HV71, ending the 2022-23 season with the SHL award for most points by a U18 junior. Before joining the SHL club, Fisker Molgaard played for HV71's U18 and U20 teams, recording 59 points, 19 goals, 40 assists in 62 games from 2021-22 to 2022-23. He played in 15 playoff games during that span, recording 9 points, 4 goals, and 5 assists. The Denmark native represented his country in the IIHF U18 D1A 2021-22 and 22-23, as well as U20 D1A 2021-22 to 2023-24 World Juniors Championships, the IIHF World Championship 2022-23 and 2020-24, and the Deutschland Cup 2023 to 2024. He served as an alternate captain and recorded 5 points, 2 goals, and 3 assists in 4 games in 2023-24 tournament, winning a bronze medal with the U20 D1A World Junior Championship team. His 61.54 faceoff percentage was the best mark among all U20 D1A skaters. He was named the best forward and top player of the 2022-23 U18 D1A World Junior Championship, recording the best plus minus at +9, most assists at 6. Where'd I go? Most assists at 6, most goals at 6, most points with 12 in that tournament. Fisker Molgaard was selected originally by Seattle with the 52nd overall pick in the 2023 NHL draft, becoming the Kraken's first ever Danish draft pick. So that's cool to see. I know that, with Fisker Molgaard, it was kind of hard to keep track of him for some fans if you weren't really looking at the Swedish Hockey League's database and that league's website. So it was kind of interesting to keep track of his progress, but obviously seeing him perform at the international level is a big deal. And, I know that in the press release for this move of him signing his entry-level contract, that Ron Francis did mention that they liked seeing him perform at the international level, and they're excited to see him continue to perform within the organization. So, 2 different pieces of news there. Obviously something that's going to be relative to the present as well as the future in assistant coaching jobs to be filled by the Kraken, as well as something for the future with Oscar Fisker Molgaard. So we keep it moving here over into the rain segment of the show. I'll take a draw. There was some commentary about this being a disappointing result. Just considering what's been happening with the team, with the losing streak and how the last loss came about against the Kansas City Current, and especially with this being against a Thorns team in a rivalry, knowing that the Thorns were without a lot of players, I'll accept it. I'll live with it. June 16th versus the Portland Thorns at Lumen Field was a scoreless draw. Our player of the match was defender Phoebe McLernon. McLernon, a 7.5 match rating, 86% passing percentage, 1 chance created, 2 blocks, 8 clearances, 1 interception, and 6 recoveries in this match. McLernon, particularly in the first half, I believe there were 3 key instances where I noticed her making big impacts defensively, stopping balls that could have been dangerous for the Thorns within the Seattle box. And whether it is playing as a fullback, playing as a center back, McLernon has been so valuable versatility-wise and being just a stout defender for the Reign. So she was a vital impact in this match. We look at the injury report versus Portland. There's only one player listed on it this time, which is very good for the Reign, just considering how things have been for them injury-wise. They've been without Claudia Dickey for a long period of time. They've been without Quinn for a long period of time. Jordan Hyden is, starting to get back consistently. She's made the last 2 starts. So anyway, we'll keep looking at it. Sorry, I've been talking so much. I started to get a little lightheaded. Ooh. Wow, I completely lost it. Oh, yes, Claudia Dickey was questionable for this match, but she did end up making the start. It was announced shortly before the match happened, actually, that she was good to go and was available for selection and would make the start for the Reign. And as a corresponding move, the player that the Reign had brought in as a goalkeeper replacement player, Kaylee Collins, had been let go. I believe, what's the official terminology? They waived Kaylee Collins. There you go. Claudia Dickey had been elevated back to the active roster and was available for selection. Collins joined the Reign from Western Sydney Wanderers Football Club on a short-term contract as that goalkeeper replacement player. She did not make an appearance for the Reign. Something that I did find interesting being in the post-match press conference for this one, this draw against Portland, the 40th all-time meeting between the two rivals, the second this year. Collins, per head coach Laura Harvey, on Friday when they knew Claudia would be back, when they knew that they would have to make the roster move to take Collins off of it and waiver, she spoke to the team and addressed the team and said that she hasn't seen a more resilient group ever than this Reign team. So that was pretty remarkable to see. And, just given how much is happening with this team, given, there's no news of the sale and how that's impacting potential what am I looking for? Potential signings coming in here. That's why I won't say that, this is a failure with the scoreless draw. There's been a lot going on with the Reign, and for them to, keep pushing forward and deal with all of this, and a lot of change within the club, truthfully, I really can't blame them. So, there's reports from our friends over at Ride of the Valkyries that the sale should be completed within a week or two, but it'll be interesting to see what's going on. Some summer moves really could help round out the team, but the delay in the sale has made it really difficult to make any deals truly come through and be finalized. The on-field stuff is truthfully, though, where the Reign need to focus on, and they showed some of that with this match here. So other notes from the Reign, they had training this past week. They should be announcing some of the decisions on their 2 players that are currently on loan right now, with midfielder Luani, who is with Madrid CFF, and Jimena Lopez, the defender with Valencia. They're both wrapping up their seasons on loan in Spain. There's a lot going on with some younger players going on with the squad. The Reign are having U18 trialists practice with the club right now, and forward Lena Powell, midfielder Ainsley McCammon, defender Jordan Bugg. The main aren't particularly going to sign any player immediately. It is a good opportunity to say where they're at right now. Juju Harris, who was with the Reign back in the preseason, if you'll remember from when we mentioned those rosters in the preseason, is still training with the team. She is a U18 player, recently playing with the Seattle Reign 2 team in the women's WPSL, scoring 2 goals against the Thorns WPSL team, practicing there as well. Harvey did give a update on Sam Mays' progress as she's been out and dealing with some things. Harvey did say she did have a few things that hit her, illness being one of them, that sort of wiped her out for a little bit. The journey back has been challenging, but Mesa is doing all of the right things. So interesting to see that going forward. So that's what I've got for the Reign over the course of the past week. They do sit at a 2-win, 9-loss, 2-draw record, still at 13th in the NWSL table with 8 standing points. Looking ahead, back-to-back home matches is nice. I will say that. Back-to-back home matches. June 23rd versus Racing Louisville FC is a 3 p.m. Pacific time start. That is their Pride match. It is on NWSL Plus and Kong for viewing.
Hey, Charles.
Hey, Jen.
Hey, where are you going to watch all the away games for Seattle Reign FC this year?
Away games. Well, since Rough and Tumble is the home of Circling Seattle Sports, I was thinking of coming here if that's okay with you.
I think that makes a lot of sense. See y'all here.
From the Reign segment of the show, we finish things off this week with the Seawolves, who, in a big matchup between the top 2 teams in all of MLR, the top 2 teams in the Western Conference of MLR, the Seawolves fell just short. So we'll look into it here. This past Saturday, June 15th, at the Houston SaberCats on the road, a 25-28 loss. Just a tough one. We'll go through the scores in this one. The Houston won a line-out to gain their first try of the match for a 5-0 scoreline. Then they would get a penalty kick shortly after to increase that score to 8-0. A Mac Mason penalty did cut into that for a 3-8 score, but Houston got their second try to make it 3-13. So early on, you could really see that Houston throwing those heavy punches early on and really, holding Seattle without much. But Sam Matenga did cross the line for a try, and Mac Mason's kick was successful to send us into the halftime mark, only trailing by 3 for a score of 13-10, for the Seawolves. So a tough one there between 2 of the top teams in the Western Conference, 2 of the top teams in MLR are points-wise at the half. Houston scored shortly after the half, and Seattle did respond with a try from Tony Pulu to make things 15-20. Houston got another penalty kick to make it 15-23. Mac Mason converted another penalty kick to make it 18-23, but a Houston try made it 18-28, really essentially helping Houston pull away. Jade Stigling did get a try late, and Mac Mason converted to make it 25-28, but by then it was too late, and the Seawolves had dropped that one. That last try made it Jade Stigling's 10th try of the season. We look at some of the notable statistics here for the Seawolves as they dropped this close one on the road against Houston. Not something that they should really be super upset with, but obviously I think the top seed in the MLR is out of the question now. They do have the playoffs secured already, so that's not out like the most frustrating thing in the world. But it was on the table, but did not happen. It was funny. Former Seawolf AJ Alatimu actually led Houston in points scored with 8. Mac Mason led Seattle with 10. And then 3 players tied for with 5 points: Jade Sigling, Sam Matenga, and Tony Pulu, who all had tries for Seattle. Mac Mason had 2 goal kicks in this one. He led the team in kicking meters with 354. Devon Rousseau, 135, second on the team. Hugh Taylor led the team with 18 tackles made, tied for first with Monet Ake Guy, also 18. Devon Rousseau had 15 ball carries, and he led the team with running meters with 203 in this one. So looking ahead, the Seawolves sit at a 10-win, 4-loss record, good for 51 standings points. They are second in the league, second in the Western Conference. Their second to last match of the season, this one's going to be in Seattle at Starfire, June 22nd at RFC Los Angeles, which is a 7 p.m. Pacific time start. Fox 13 Plus, Bally SoCal, and the Rugby Network is where you can find this one being broadcast. That will wrap up our show for June 17th, 2024. I don't know how many folks will be looking at it now. It is my birthday. I am 23 years of age now. I apologize. It's always weird around my birthday, so I don't try to be super open about it. It's why I didn't open the show with it. it is pretty remarkable to see what was something really small to kick things off with CSS. Was just a podcast that I kind of did any time of the week, and it was largely about the Seahawks to begin with. Then the 2020 hit, and he was doing interviews over the phone. The journey has been unique. It's not always linear. Success is not always linear. I would still deal with issues, here and there. I woke up really late on Sunday for the rain match. Got in later than I wanted to. Didn't get a bunch of what I wanted to done. I got a lot of stuff we were going to post to catch up on. There's parts of the show I want to be better, parts of myself that need to be better, but just eternally grateful for all the support that we get, whether it is, the Converge family, what we've built with CSS and how CSS stands on its own. The CSS team, I can go through and list the team right now with our photographer team. Without our photographers, there is no story. There's no story to be told. That's just the truth of the matter. With Liv, my lead photographer and one of my best friends, who's been such a valuable person to have alongside me through all of this for many reasons. Liz, who is such a trooper and is also one of the people who's been alongside me with a lot of this. With Rio and Kevin, both who have been very, very humble and hardworking and do the time. They're going to be very far along in their careers before they're all said and done. Rio shows up every day with a clear mind and willing to show it, and it's always fun to see what he creates. I can say the same thing for Kevin, both very humble, smart guys who just are excellent to work with. It's we look at the writing team with Brittany and Christian and Jade and Berlin and Sylvia and folks we're going to add, adding Rowan, who I've always admired, and to have her on is excellent. With Diane, and her role, and I know she likes to say largely in the shadows, but I wanted to mention that. It is, Mike, who's been a friend of mine and doesn't really have an official role yet. We'll have to, announce that, but has been a big friend of mine, and it helped CSS grow as well through his own help. And without my mom and dad, none of this is really possible. With their support, my mom on Facebook liking everything and leaving comments, my dad, giving me the love of these sports, and both of them taking me out to games. My dad giving me the love of baseball so early on. Both of them having season tickets to the Rain at Memorial and the Storm at Key Arena, and I remember going to the championship celebrations for them and being on the court season ticket days. They made sure I played sports growing up. I played Little League baseball. I played soccer growing up. Played basketball growing up. It's not easy covering 22 teams. And I do hit points where, it is tough. I hit ruts, there's burnout. I understand that. And I've had a lot of friends mention, you need to take time and, take care of yourself. Right. I understand that. But, there's so many stories that need to be told in this city, let alone in sports in general. And that's, with the 8 pro teams in the Seahawks, the Mariners, the Storm, the Sounders, the Kraken, the Rain, the Seawolves, and the Orcas now. And then there's our CSS's minor league coverage with CSS Futures, with the Mariners affiliates, the Kraken affiliates, the USL League 2 teams around here, the the major junior hockey teams in the area. Then there's the UW teams. We started doing beach volleyball this year, the women's soccer team, the baseball team, and there's more that we want to do. There's so much more that we have to announce as well, and it is a lot. But I've just been fueled by such. There's so many great people. There's so many great stories to tell. I just hope that the passion from myself as the founder of it and who runs a large amount of what you see is realized and is felt. I want this always to be a safe space for everybody, no matter what. I want you to be able to support your teams in this area and feel supported and know that the content that you're supporting, the people behind it support you. And I want to do right by these teams and these athletes, So I'm sorry. It is just fun for me to reflect on everything. But I hope you know where I'm coming from with all of this and rather to take the spin from it's my birthday and I wanted to celebrate what this has become with getting to work with so many incredible people. Folks I didn't mention, Mariah, Anthony, Chris, Elizabeth. I haven't worked with Emma yet, but we want to get her on the team. And there's a bunch of folks we're working through, the photographer space, the writer space that we'll add as well. Mike and Caitlin have to announce that officially. Diane, doing her job, doing it well, and all the folks who support us really. Who buy merch. I really wish I could go through and read all of those. I don't know if it's a good idea or not. That means a lot. If I'd have my own hat. Started it in late 2019. I practically at you. So that's a cool reminder So let's get out of here. That has episode of Circling Seattle Sports 2000 and June 17th. Until we see you next week, and do whatever you can to make today. I'll see you soon. Oh, Jesus Christ. Big baby. Big baby.